September 2022. The finals. A new stadium. First week of spring. And it went off.
My goodness! This is a powder keg.
7 sin bins. 7 in the most brutal final ever played in modern history. There are rivalries in sport. Some of them baked up, thick with hyperbole, and beat up with past stories that year by year make them unrecognisable against the truth. Then there are those rivalries that don't require that seasoning.
Tell me about the Book of Fuse. You can take me now. I have seen it all.
And however you want to name them, eastern suburbs in South Sydney, the Roosters and the Rabbitohs, the Chooks and the Bunnies. There isn't anywhere in world sport with a more treacherous dislike for the other. The rage, fueled by what's come before and what lays ahead. This will never ease and it will never pass. It will be handed down from fan to fan, from player to player. Friday, another chapter will be written. Another win, another loss decided. It will be brutal, it will be real, and it will matter.
Roosters up against the Rabbitohs live and ad break free Friday 8 p.m. right here on Fox League. My favourite, it always delivers. Let's bring in the journos, Paul Crawley and Dave Riccio. How are we, all right?
Going well, mate.
Ready for this game?
Yeah, cracker.
It's always good.
Sensational.
The rivalry is real. Big game coming up also for both sides. They're both coming off average rounds 1 and 2, but it still should be spectacular as always.
It'll be a great game. It always is. There's so much history. There's so much hate, passion. We build it up. The players get out there and they love it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think it's a game too that. I think it's a game the Roosters will get played back into form. I don't know if they'll win, but I'm certain that they'll play well and play their way back into form because it means so much.
Yeah, rumours today that the Roosters held a secret meeting to unpack what caused an emotional boil-over last year. We all remember that game. We spoke about it at the top of the show. It was pretty fiery, and the Roosters don't want to buy into it, I should imagine, this year.
Well, I was about to say, the meeting, Crawls, is based on containing their emotions next time round, because they know it's coming. I mean, this is the rivalry.
Yeah.
But whether they can is the question.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, look, we spoke about it last night, didn't we? About the fact that they've gone out and they've overcooked themselves and got too emotional. They've tried to go the other way and take the emotion out of the game. They found out after a loss that they hadn't quite got that right either, that they were underprepared. The Rabbitohs seem to get it right every time, which is interesting, and the Roosters are still trying to find their way.
7 sin bins in that game.
Yeah.
Like, it was one for the ages. A lot didn't like it. A lot loved it. It was a cracker.
They lost control, didn't they? It all went pear-shaped when Ashley Klein sin-bin Radley for the so-called punch that wasn't a punch, and from there it just went, they took off their heads and they put on pumpkins, and the Roosters just lost their way. And you talk about how important it is for them, Braith. I think their recent record against the Rabbitohs is they've only won 2 of 7 in recent times. And they do have a bad record against teams like the Panthers and the Melbourne Storm. So they do have something to prove in this game.
It's a game that the Roosters, I believe, need to be careful, and in particular the agitators, the guys that will get under South Sydney's skin, and it's Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, Victor Radley and Brandon Smith. All 3 are coming off injuries, disrupted preparations. Radley's coming off the head knock.
But the first 2
does he need to go out there and start taking blokes' heads off? Jared Warrior-Hargreaves has played 1 game. He played 1 game of the World Cup. Right? He's coming back from a back problem. Is he going to get out there and start?
But isn't this why they've had this meeting? Isn't this meeting supposed to be a ploy now to not go out there and do what they did last year?
It's a fine line, though, isn't it? Like, the team that plays the toughest without crossing the line wins. you know, and Souths have had their measure in recent times. Like, Warira Hargraves is the player he is because he's an enforcer.
Yeah.
He's feared. Radley's the same. Like, you can't take away completely what makes them great.
I think the Roosters will put a real emphasis, though, on minimising penalties to minimise the stoppages in the game, because both sides have spoken about how that affected the game last year. The Roosters were going all right until everything started to go haywire, and then with all the stoppages and all the penalties and all the rest that followed, you know, Souths are a better side when they get to reset and come out of set plays. Roosters like to play that continuous football where they just keep the ball in play and back and forth. So the Roosters will be doing everything they can. Souths will try and bait them, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
That's how the Roosters respond, because Radley and Warrior Hargraves, I love the way they play, but they're not the type to turn the other cheek. And they might have to this week, because the Rabbitohs will try and drag them in to that street fight again.
It goes
and
the
they're
other way, though.
Yeah, but they can't. But it doesn't benefit the Roosters' football. Is my point. I'm not talking about toughness and who's the toughest or any of that business. I'm talking about who plays the better football. The Roosters don't want stoppages or a lot of stoppages in play. They are when the ball's in play and stays in play, then what happens is they play better than generally the Rabbitohs. But the Rabbitohs have got this ability to drag them into these little incidents, stop the game, get set, go again, and it benefits them more.
I agree with you, Kenty. I think they will try and bait the Roosters, and the Rabbitohs players were happy to talk up the grudge match at training this morning.
Fireworks? Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, it'll be crazy. Yeah, obviously last game in the finals when we beat them, you know, a few sin bins, I think. But no, I think it's one of my favourite games of the year. Yeah, the fans get into it, which is pretty mad, and you know, they don't like each other. So yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, we have to hate each other on the field too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Obviously, we're not going out there to take heads off, but you know, as I said, it's going to be intense.
Obviously, it's their home ground, but it'll pretty much be 50-50. So it's pretty much, yeah. It's not. I don't really see it as anyone's home ground. It's pretty much right in the middle of both territories. So yeah, I don't really look at it as any home game or anything.
Interesting. The Rabbitohs players owning it. That's back to your point. They clearly think that they are under the skin of the Roosters. They want to capitalise on that. They want to play that up throughout the week. They want to get into the heads of the Roosters. They think they're already in there, and they want to stay there. And that's clear by the reaction now, I think, of the players.
Yeah, and clearly they're talking up about the ground too, because remember the big fight both teams had last year over the ground and who had the home ground and whether they were going to had permission to train there during finals week. Remember the Rabbitohs made a submission to train there. The Roosters tried to block it, and the Rabbitohs said, "Well, we weren't even going to train there anyway." Privately, they just did it to get under the Roosters' skin. Yeah, I love it.
Well, Latrell's at training this week, calling it Trellion Stadium to his teammates.
Yeah,
he's talking it up, and it's to your point, Brad. They're embracing it. I think the coach, Jason Demetriou, doesn't mind his players embracing it, knowing it's an occasion.
Because he doesn't.
A premeditated strike to try and get under the skin of the Roosters, like we spoke about the fact that the Roosters had their secret meeting to try and work out how they don't cross the line. It's almost like Souths are antagonising him to cross the line.
There's a rumour that they've been training with 12 players on the field. There is a rumour. In preparation, just in case. Have you heard that, or is that just is that a spin
You're
from
telling the story.
That's from our producer, Mitch. So
I wouldn't believe anything he says.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you prepare for that?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you?
You never know. The Tigers didn't prepare for that on the weekend. Now, this is a big game. The Roosters, though, it's a great opportunity for them to really end this. We all know what Robbo's like. We know how competitive, how successful they've been over a long period of time. This is an opportunity to shut the bunnies up, put them back in their place.
Also for the Roosters, it's like I thought to myself when I sat down and looked at the draw at the start of the season, I thought, before they'd gone down to the Dolphins, I thought to myself, forget what happens in the first two rounds. What they turn up and show us in round 3 against the Bunnies will tell us where the Roosters are. And this is a big season for the Roosters, who have had a really bad run with injuries in recent times, but they haven't aimed up to where people expected them to finish.
If you don't think the Roosters are agitated and that this game doesn't mean anything, Brent Reid did that terrific deep dive into the rivalry. And a Roosters official contacted Reedy to discuss why Ray Martin had suggested that the Bunnies that the Roosters were forever in the bunny shadow, right? Now, how dare Ray Martin say that?
Oh, they hate him.
And that adds to the
It
rivalry.
goes both ways. I mean, I've seen it. I've sat on both sides of the fence growing up.
And the Roosters got a
Anyone
nice
played.
little one this week with the ticket prices.
Did they put South fans' ticket prices up?
Well, yeah, so where the South fans expect to sit, I think they're a little bit more
Look how
expensive.
sad they are, Kenty.
Yeah, I know. It is
That's a
very-
disgrace.
That's great sad face, isn't it?
They really captured the moment here. The South. Is it actually true though?
no, look,
There's lots of
They
rumours.
called it a tier 1 game.
A tier 1 game.
Yeah, they got
But
two.
the South
They got
fans
this
were
one and
unhappy
the
with
Anzac Day games. They're tier 1 games, so they have bumped ticket
I love
prices
the
up.
games. I love the games.
Look, there's no doubt that's just going to be done to piss the Rabbitohs off as well, though.
Yeah.